All right. So, jumping into exploring the pyramid model. Um, we are going to be reflecting on social and emotional learning, what we do know about young children, supporting each and every child, that is, of course, as a group or individually. We're going to talk about what is the pyramid model, and how to apply the philosophy of the pyramid model in a general sense, and some of the research behind the pyramid model and how it came to be. I can't click on that one and that one. I got to do them separately. One time. Yeah, live and you learn. All righty. So expectations for our learning together. Again, as I had mentioned, so I'll just really briefly read through these. We are a safe and healthy group, where we don't pass judgment on each other, right? We take breaks as we need, move around if you need to, stand up, move around, whatever you need to do, take care of your own needs. We are going to listen and be respectful and understand, to our highest capacity of everyone else's perspectives and viewpoints. And we're going to be friendly and kind and respectful. Is there anything anyone really would like to add to our list of group expectations? I always like to say we give ourselves grace as much as we give each other grace. All right. Okay, this might get a little irritating, so I gotta switch to two screens here. Oh well. Okay, so our hopes and dreams for children. So I'd like you to take a second and think about a young child who you know, or you teach, and what are your hopes and dreams for that child? Thinking about that, your hopes and dreams for that child at age 6, at age 18, all the way into adulthood. Then thinking about your hopes and dreams for that child throughout their life, how important are those social emotional skills in getting to those places? I'm going to give you 1 second to think about that on your own while I close my doors and stuff, because my family just got home. Okay. So anything come up for anyone that you'd like to share? Might be your own child you're thinking of, or might be there's a particular child in your care that you maybe picked out for this reflection. But thinking of that particular child, is there general thoughts of need in the social emotional skills, or just or sorry, specific or general? Oh, sorry, Belle or Sophia. I'm sorry, I didn't know who raised their hand first, but how about, well, neither of you want to just come off. Sophia, you're up.
Great, perfect. Can I talk about the question, or do you want me to put it in the chat?
No, whatever you know. If you're comfortable sharing out loud, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, what are your hopes and dreams for the child? Is this like any age, really? Any child?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I've only been working in childcare for 2 months now, but I think teaching kids that, like, if they get hurt or if they hurt someone else, I'm like, do you want to get, do you like it when you get hurt? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, then your friend's not going to like it when you hurt them. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, of course, it's still going to take them a while to learn that, but teaching them that, like, you know, other kids have feelings, or like other or staff have feelings, is important,
Mm-hmm.
because then they recognize how they should and should not treat other people. That's all I was going to
Thank
say.
you. No, that's great, Sophia. Thank you. That's a really good point. And when we as educators and even their own peers point out that, yeah, we have feelings too. Sometimes the same feelings as you, sometimes different feelings from you, and that's why we are upset right now. But knowing and understanding that, feelings are universal across everywhere. That's really good, Sophia. Thank you for pointing that out. Belle?
The student that I was thinking of, they are, excuse my cat, they're being very needy right now, probably yelling in the background. Um, but this student is incredibly shy, very picky, doesn't, I mean, they hardly speak in general. Um, so my hopes for them, I mean, within the next few months is to at least get them to talk to a friend or play with a friend. I've the last few days they've been in my classroom. They're not typically in my class, but I've been working really, really hard at getting this student to just interact. And they're noticing that if I get down on the ground with them and I make them my sole focus at recess, all of the other students that I typically spend my time with, they kind of just flock over to us. And now they're engaging with this student, and it's starting to break them out of their shell. It's one word at a time here and there, but I'm really hoping that by doing that, they'll realize, hey, I can interact. I can speak with other people, make friends, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. And I particularly love that you pointed out over time, right? This isn't something, even if you had all of the most specific tools that would help that one child break out of that shell, recognizing that it's going to take time, and it's going to take probably a lot of different experiments in how to help them with that transition into opening up a bit. But just recognizing that it's really hard for that child, and knowing that about them, and being able and willing to continue that journey with them, is the biggest part. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. All right. We had a couple offers in the chat too, I'd like to share. Um, oh, Tracy with the downloads. Melanie got that covered. Yeah, unfortunately, I experienced that once or twice. Those downloads sometimes either take forever or they don't want to come through all the way, but we'll make sure that you can get those. Martha says, I want my students to be able to manage their feelings so they are able to be part of the society in the most positive way. Thank you. Yeah. And oh, okay. I want my own children to be able to express who they are and always know they are unique. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Oh, you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a little bit more, but
Yeah, no, go ahead, Yesenia.
after working with children all this 10 years that I have worked with children, I think that is something that I have gained more. Just the importance of teaching children that it's okay to express themselves. I think that we have had that taboo a little bit that, kids have to do and say what an adult says. So I
Mhm.
think it's really important to change that dynamic and, just change it up a little bit, that it's okay, even though they're 3, they could express who they are. So I think
Yeah.
that would be something that I would like to change. And knowing that it's okay, they're still unique. Everybody doesn't have to follow the norms. So I think that's something that I have learned over the years.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Yesenia. I love that. And I think that that is also such an important point that, I mean, as adults, like, we're allowed to feel our feelings. And I mean, especially now in this day and age, we're all being encouraged to share and advocate for ourselves and share our feelings. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that there's still this dynamic out there of, you know, the idea children should be just seen and not heard, kind of an idea thing, whatever. But you know, they're humans just like us, and they should and need to be able to express those feelings, emotions, thoughts, etc. Thank you. Lindsay put in the chat, I think we all focus on independence and quality relationships, either with peers or with teachers. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Great sharing, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Switch that screen. Switch that screen. Alrighty, so the goal of the pyramid model, in a nutshell, is to ensure each and every child has support, experiences, relationships, opportunities, guidance, and instruction to thrive in their social, emotional development and learning. And we might recall that when we can thrive in our social emotional development and learning, we can thrive in just about any other development area. Okay, so what do we already know about young children? Oops, sorry, I switched that slide, not this one. Probably gonna do that a few times. Yesenia, did you have another question, or your hand didn't go down from before? I don't want to leave you hanging.
No, I think I never put it down.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, no worries. I just, yeah, no. Also, just jump out if you guys have something to say. I can only see like 2 bubbles at once. So I can't see all you guys. So pop out. Okay. What do we know? So we're going to look in this section about what influences children in the early years experience and have, and how we can support them, whether it's the large group or individually. So let's get into that. When we are looking at brain development, there we go. Brain development is our highly interactive process, and our life outcomes are not solely determined by genes, right? So like a nature versus nurture idea, and the idea that our brain development is, of course, highly interactive, and it's something that's happening all the time. Brain development never stops. It's not only determined by where we come from, but where we're at. That's what I mean with the nature versus nurture sort of idea. A great deal of brain architecture is shaped during our first 3 years. But of course, as I mentioned, that isn't it for development. Our brain, of course, continues to grow and develop past that. So as we support the development and the brain growth of early people, early humans, we want to keep in mind that it's very, very interactive of a process. It's not just, you know, oh, our brain stops growing when we leave our preschool classroom at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Okay. Then we're looking at, oh boy, love, oh, next, here we go. And then we might look at ACEs. Thumbs up, show of hands, whatever, yes in the chat. How familiar are you with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences? You've heard about it. You have a lot of work with children that have had a lot of ACEs, or a child, I don't know.
Kim, I'm seeing some thumbs up,
Okay.
thumbs down.
Okay.
So some are familiar.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. So I'm gonna move you guys' boxes again. There we go. So studies have found that adverse childhood experiences, or also called ACEs, have negative impacts on social and emotional development of children. And these are, of course, studies. I'm not going to quote where the studies came from right now. You can read that right there. Children who are exposed to 2 or more ACEs are more likely to have behavior problems. This isn't that surprising, right? But then the question is, what do we do? How, as educators, are we supporting all children, knowing that there are some children in our care that have experienced either some adverse childhood experiences or many? The study cited here, I just wanted to let you know, found that when children have 2 or more ACEs, they are more likely to have behavior problems. However, the study only examined 9 experiences, which was physical abuse, psychological abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, divorce or separation, mental health, substance abuse, incarceration, domestic violence. So that sounds like a really long and inclusive list, but the reality is that there are many factors that may be adverse childhood experiences, and it's all very individual. And we're going to kind of keep pulling at that here. So while all, oh gosh, again, skipping through my note slides and not ours. Here we go. Okay, so just kind of in review and reflection, what are ACEs? Anyone want to, what's it stand for again?
Adverse childhood experiences.
Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are all children exposed to an ACE likely to have negative impacts? Oh, thank you, Hazel. Not necessarily, right? We don't know. It's an individual thing. And then who is most likely to experience ACEs? That's like a trick question, right? Like literally everybody and anybody. I mean, it's individual. It's too individual. While all children are at risk for adverse experiences, numerous studies have documented inequities in such experiences attributed to historical, social, and economic environments in which the families live. So that's coming from one of those studies that they've mentioned in our last slide that they quoted. So in addition, conditions such as living in under-resourced or racially segregated neighborhoods, frequently moving, being subject to homelessness, or experiencing food insecurity can be traumatic and exacerbate the effects of other ACEs, right? They may stand alone adverse childhood experience, but also, you know, you could have a collective group of ACEs that is affecting one child. Not all early adversity, it's hard to say together, is traumatic, right? So keeping that in mind too, when we're talking about ACEs, something that might seem impactful or traumatic to an individual is not necessarily to another. Right? So it all coming back down to the uniqueness of the individual, and the uniqueness of the individual's current support or lack of support, and then where they can find that soft space. And right, we want that soft space to be in our classroom if they don't have it somewhere else. So that was just me trying to review ACEs kind of information. Do we feel comfortable about that? Questions, comments? All right. Okay, so that leads us into trauma. Trauma occurs when frightening events or situations overwhelm someone's ability to cope or deal with what is happening. I self-explanatory, I think, right? We can dive into this if anyone really wants to. But researchers do estimate that between 49 and 75% of children will experience a potentially traumatic event between birth and age 5. And wow, like that sounds really intense and awful. I guess just maybe playing a little bit, not devil's advocate, I suppose, but when I read that, my heart kind of stops at first, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's so traumatic for our young people. And then I think, well, if learning and getting through life is how we get over adverse experiences, how we learn through and push through, how we learn about ourselves and we learn about our community, our society, and our peers, we're all going to be experiencing some kind of trauma. And young children are not any different. Like, I mean, I experienced trauma every day in some way, shape, or form. But I can then get through the day and to the next day and through the week and through the month because I have those executive functioning tools under my belt that I was given, hopefully, when I was birth to 5. So keeping that piece in mind. Okay. A little bit about sociocultural trauma. Again. There we go. All right, so when we consider trauma, we want to understand the context and the factors that influence trauma. By doing so, then we can make a commitment to not discuss a family's trauma without considering the historical, the structural, the political, the intergenerational, the interpersonal, and the individual spheres that create it. So that being said, especially when we're talking about sociocultural trauma, we're not necessarily talking about one event or one happening, right? I think that sometimes trauma in our brains translates to one thing that happened to this particular child that is maybe setting their development back a little bit. But we need to consider that, like this diagram, there are many pieces that play into what someone is experiencing with their own trauma. All right. Trauma, some hot, heavy stuff. Are we feeling okay? Everyone all right? Okay. All right. Racial trauma. Racism impacts everyone. Children's mental and physical health can be negatively impacted by racial trauma. Not surprising, right? And then race-based traumatic stress, or RBTS, refers to the mental and emotional injury caused by encounters with racial bias and ethnic discrimination, racism, and hate crimes. I want to point out on this note, that second bullet point, RBTS, referring to the mental and emotional injury caused by encounters with racism. That can be anybody, right? You don't have to be the victim or the target of a racist encounter to be traumatized by it. By that, I'm meaning, especially looking at, and like, this is a hot button issue, right? But And in a minute, we're going to look at a couple stats, but studies have shown that younger Black children are almost labeled, if I use that word, more strongly than their non-Black counterparts, white, Asian, Hispanic. Anyway, we can understand that there's children who are very directly being impacted by racial trauma. But we also want to keep in mind that that child who's experiencing that directly, there's a very good, long, hard chance that all the children that are in that environment with that one child being targeted are either A, picking up on that in a negative way of viewing the child in a negative light, or the what's the word I'm looking for, empathetic way of being just as triggered or traumatized. So I hope that made sense. I'm sorry. That just kind of came to me as I was reading through this a little bit ago. So I just wanted to share that piece. I hope that landed the way I was hoping it to. Okay. All righty. So suspension and expulsion. Young children are being suspended and expelled from preschool at alarming rates. This is 100% true. And I'm not going to get too deep into it tonight, mostly because one thing I do absolutely love about Preschool Promise and the funding that supports Preschool Promise is that that isn't allowed, right? So I love that part about it. But suspension and expulsion is not benefiting the families or the children involved. And we do get, when we get deeper into the models, the other modules, we talk a lot more about that, but all right. Okay, patterns of disproportionality. Okay, so here's a couple really strong, hard-hitting facts. And I believe that now that I've been talking for 30 minutes, whatever, at you guys, you might hear it a little bit differently and a little bit better if you hear it from each other. So I'm going to take popcorn reading volunteers for our little bullets here, please.
In 2017 and 2018, 2,822 preschoolers received one or more out of school suspensions.
Wow. That's a huge number.
Someone else can read.
Yes, thank you, Hazel. Thank you. Someone else? Sorry, thank you, Amethyst. Go ahead.
Black preschool children accounted for 18.2% of total enrollment, but 43.3% of one or more out of school suspension. Expelled at rates twice their share of enrollment, 38.2% expelled.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that except wow, right? Thank you. Thank you, Amethyst.
Preschool boys were suspended and expelled much more often than girls. Black preschool boys received both suspensions, 34.2%, and expulsions at 30.4%, more than 3 times their enrollment, which was 9.6%.
Thank you, Yesenia. Again, yeah, just wow. Wow. All right, last one. Just one more. Come on, friends.
Preschool students who were served under IDEA accounted for 22.7% of total preschool enrollment, but accounted for 56.9% of preschool students who were expelled.
Wow. So before we move on, and we're not really gonna discuss it, but I really want to give you a full minute to look at this again on your own and just let it sink in. Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so dual language learners. A lot of us have dual language learners in our classroom. More than 11.2 million young children, or 33% of all US children under the age of 9, are dual language learners. This obviously is a very large and growing population, and it brings valuable linguistic and cultural assets, yet is also disproportionately likely to face multiple risk factors that make these children important targets for learning, early learning, and other services. That's kind of like, long story short, is like a lot of dual language learners fall through the cracks, right? How can we make and support a program that those children are not falling through the cracks? Children with disabilities. Oops. Nope. Other way. So all children with disabilities should be taught in high quality inclusive settings. Children with disabilities in inclusive settings demonstrate stronger social emotional skills than children in separate classrooms. The inclusion of children with disabilities benefits all children, including those without disabilities. I will say my own personal caveat to this particular slide is knowing the families that you work with. And this is when it's going to be the most crucial, important piece of deciding what is best for a child, is already having that relationship with the family to know and understand, because family is the child's first teacher, right? The family knows the child more than any of us ever could. Sometimes you have a child with disabilities whose family would prefer or knows that, we've been through the, school system for a while, and we recognize that our child grows and learns and is much more successful when they are in a separated classroom, or whatever. I'm not advocating for separation. I'm just saying that we do have to be mindful of the intentionality and the desire and the needs of the individual. And that's not just the kid, but the family as well. Okay. Camera. Doesn't know what to do. Like, goes too fast. All right. Well, we can make a difference. And that's why we're here, right? That's why we do what we do, all of us. There is increasing evidence that a strong social emotional support, such as high family resilience, connection, and provision of positive childhood experiences, are associated with children who are resilient and flourish despite their level of adversity. So that is to say that even if we are working with children from very, very adverse situations or experiences, it's not too late, and we can play that role in their life. As I said, to give them a soft space, to give them the opportunity to experience and really know themselves, and thus being open to learning. Okay. You make a difference. Of course you do. Oops. Sorry. The importance of a child's close relationship with a caregiver cannot be overestimated. And I think I've already kind of pushed that in the last just 45 minutes. Through our relationships with important attachment, and that's when children can learn to trust others and themselves, to regulate their emotions, and to interact with the world around them. They then get to develop a sense of the world as safe or unsafe, appropriately, and come to understanding their own value as an individual. And what a strong and wonderful, powerful thing to think about, like the role that we have right now in these little people's lives are going to help them form who they are going to be in their own trusting adult relationships. I think that's really cool and really powerful. Comments, questions on that? I think that this quote here has just has a lot of power for us as educators, and I would really love for you guys to see and feel that for yourselves. Okay.
I had a comment.
Please.
Okay, so the phrase regulate their emotions, and I think that can only happen if we are co-regulating, meaning that we as the adults are regulated, because children cannot regulate if we are not ourselves regulated.
Yep. Thank you, Hazel. I'm really glad that you pointed that out. That is such a good point. I mean, if we're running around flying up here, I mean, however could we expect them to be here? You know? Oh, we can't even see my hands. But no, that's a really good point. Thank you. Also, we are their role models in so many ways. So when we and Yesenia had said this before, when we allow for them to see that we have feelings, that we have emotions, that we go through these trials and tribulations the same as them, then we're helping to build that relationship and that value in oneself and ownership in our own feelings. Thank you. And the difference we make is lifelong, of course. I kind of just touched on that. Children reported to have better social skills, such as sharing, cooperating, and helping other children in kindergarten, are the ones who are going to be most likely to graduate from high school on time, more likely to get a college degree or have a full-time job, or I suppose I like or these days. Let's be real. Less likely to be arrested or engage in substance abuse. So obviously this is a study from 2015. A little bit of time has changed since then, but I'd like to think in general that concept stays the same and remains the same, that when we have better handle on our executive functioning skills at a young age, then we do have much more success in everything else later in life. Just a shameless plug, if you have a passion, as I do, for executive functioning skills and building them, I do also have a training on that. Some of you have already taken, But if you haven't, reach out to me. Let me know. Love to put that back on the books. I love that one. Okay, so how do you make a difference is the question. So thinking about what practices do you use to make a difference? Whether that's with addressing trauma, addressing behaviors, addressing inclusion, addressing the needs of your dual language learners. I'm going to give you just 1 minute on your own to think about that. Maybe I'll give you 2 full minutes. And then instead of breakout rooms for pair sharing, and it's been going really well, our sharing so far in a large group. If we want, we can share in a large group. But if you'd rather break out and talk to somebody individually, I'm happy to orchestrate that. So just think about your own, how do I make a difference for a minute? And while I let you think about that, and then we'll decide what we're going to do from there. And while you're thinking, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Okay, thank you guys. What do you think? Do we want to share out in the large group or in chat, or would you rather discuss a little bit more privately and intimately?
I don't know, but I'd like to share.
Okay, go for it. Let's do it. Thank you, Ellie.
So what
Thank
I
you,
said
Tracy.
is
Sorry, Tracy said
addressing.
group as well. Okay.
Can I go?
Sorry, Ellie, yes.
So what I said is addressing behaviors. And to me, I feel like every behavior is communicating a need. So ultimately, I'm just like fulfilling their needs and helping them learn and grow.
I love that. And that's going to be in the next couple slides too. But yes, thank you, Ellie. All behavior is communication, right? They are trying to tell us something. They just don't know how. Thank you. Thank you, Ellie. I love that. Lindsay.
So I was going to talk about our dual language learners. I mean, a lot of people probably say, well, we have a lot of Spanish kids. We have had some kids that have spoke Mandarin, Turkish,
Russian, right? Didn't you recently have a Russian speaking?
Yeah, we've got a lot of like multiple languages that literally no one speaks.
Yeah.
What we've done in the past is we've taken pictures and then put their language underneath the pictures so that they can point at it and read it if they can, and kind of learn to read it. And then we can understand what words they're using for certain things. And that has been pretty helpful.
That's great. Thank you. Really great suggestion. And I mean, I love, especially Lindsay, you pointed out, like, yeah, I don't know the language. We don't have anyone in the staff that knows the language, but there's still ways to make that connection. And, especially in a new world with AI and Google Translate and stuff like that, I'm not saying you should rely on those things. But we have a little bit more chance for bridging that gap too. Thank you.
We kind of had to for a while to
Yeah.
communicate things with parents, and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff because, like, how many teachers do you know that speak Mandarin
Yeah. Yeah. No.
or, Urdu or, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of, there's a lot of like, then I feel like, more so now than like when I was a kid is kind of a bigger melting pot than it used to be. And there's a lot more languages. And, we try really hard to like not exclude those kids and do as much as we can to communicate with them. We've taught them sign language. We've had interpreters that would come in and help us with conferences. We've done a lot to
Yeah.
trying to bridge that gap with those languages that aren't super common.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Lindsay. Sophia?
If for the kids who can talk or like or express their feelings, I will straight up like ask them like, oh, what happened? How are you doing? Like, or based on their, facial expressions say a lot for the child. So I will ask them like how they're doing or what they need, and then or I'll assess the situation, like what's around them, what's their face saying, and then kind of just tell from there what they need. So I will ask them or assess the situation.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And then I love that you pointed out you're picking up on multiple cues, right? And you know that child well enough to know, what a certain cry or whine might mean, or a certain grabbing gesture might mean because you've built that relationship, because you have that knowledge and that intimate knowing's goings on in that little kiddo's developing brain. And that's a huge piece. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Awesome group share. Love it. Now I'm gonna turn things over to Melanie here. Oh, if I can switch our slide. Right, Melanie? You on
Yep.
track? Okay, cool. Look at that.
Yep. So now we're just going to talk about how do we get there? So how do we support each and every child? So these are the must-haves, especially working with the pyramid model. And this is how the pyramid model was influenced and designed. We have to have a prevention-focused, caring community, commitment to equity, inclusion, and belonging, trauma-informed, like we talked about, anti-bias practice, and we always got to stay data-informed, which let's just remember that this is just the introduction. So this is blanketing every single session that goes with the pyramid model beyond this. And each session goes deeper into each of these different things. So just remember that tonight is a blanket to really get you engaged and hope that you feel just as passionate as I do anyways. Next one. So the pyramid model focuses on prevention and promotion. It is about being ready to meet every child where they are and knowing that some children will engage in challenging behaviors. Mark. We want to focus on creating a community where everyone belongs, and this means the families, children, and staff. It is also about ensuring all staff, families, and children feel valued and appreciated for their unique experiences, needs, and talents. We just need to remember that while trauma affects children and families, it also affects staff, and we need to be ready to support staff in much the same way that we think about supporting the children and the families that we serve.
I just gotta say, I love this photo so much because of how they captured that little guy jumping
In the air?
like in the air, and his feet are literally so like perfectly parallel to the ground. My gosh, talk about talent right there.
And the joy
The
that
joy.
he is feeling in that moment of,
Ugh,
I can do this.
pure joy. And even the joy the educator is clearly experiencing, being part of that and witnessing it. Love
Yeah.
it.
Ultimately, we have to adopt a philosophy that all children belong here and can be successful. So that means that we work collaboratively with the families to get to know their children and their strengths, needs, and the preferences in the context of understanding their family dynamic and community. It's important to also collaborate with other agencies and professionals to ensure children and families are supported. So as we talked about before, it's really important to everybody have that trauma-informed lens while working with the families, working with other staff, and really working with the children. So being anti-bias means we actively work to end all forms of bias and discrimination. And it means that the programs make a commitment to building relationships with families in a way that allows them to co-construct supports, so that the supports that we are providing to their children and the family as a whole. We use data to inform professional development. That's with the staff, and to share information with families. So about their kiddos, if there's behaviors, or like even, I like to stress this with the infants, their schedule and their routine and their eating times change. So all of that is monitoring what we are doing and how well we are doing it, and then relaying it to the families. And to monitor children, it impacts them and their families and the staff around them. So we want to be ready for every child. When we adhere to these values, it means we are ready for each and every child, including children who have experienced trauma, children with disabilities, children who are dual language learners, and children with persistent challenging behaviors. Now we will get to like the big overview of the pyramid model. And please remember, it's a blanket. There is so much to this. The pyramid model was designed based on these must-haves that you can see in this picture. Sorry. And based on these, we want to support all children in an inclusive early childhood settings. So that means that we must have prevention, promotion, and intervention practices in place at the same time. And all of these do relate back to the social emotional development that children are learning. Next slide, Kim.
She said she'll be right back. She
Oh,
sent it in
okay.
the chat.
Well, then I'm going to keep going and kind of just think about it from the bottom of the yellow, and it's going to talk upwards to the top of the pyramid. So it's all about the relationships and the effective workforce. So it's not just the relationships between the children and the families. It is the relationships between the children and staff, the staff and staff, staff and leadership, staff and management, and between staff and families. And that second part where it says high quality supportive environments. So that's about how the classroom is set up, the things that are available in the classroom, the visuals available in the classroom. Kim, I am on slide 33 already. The expectations that are set in the classroom and the engaging activities that are going on. Because when children are engaged in the meaningful and developmentally appropriate activities, they are less likely to be engaging in challenging behavior.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a sneezing fit. Looking over a weird allergy thing I'm going through. Okay. Am I back on track, Melanie?
You are. Perfect.
Okay. Great.
So the secondary or prevention level of the pyramid includes the provision of explicit instruction in social skills and emotional regulation. In early childhood programs, all young children will require adult guidance and instruction to learn how to express their emotions appropriately, play cooperatively with their peers, and use social problem-solving strategies. However, some children, they do have a hard time, and it will be necessary to provide systematic and focused instruction to teach them social emotional skills. Children might need more focused instruction on skills such as identifying and expressing their emotions, self-regulation, social problem solving, initiating and maintaining interactions, cooperative responding, strategies for handling disappointment and anger, and friendship skills. Families in early intervention programs might need guidance and coaching from their early intervention provider for how to promote their child's development of targeted social and emotional skills. Families of infants and young toddlers might need guidance and support for learning how to co-regulate with their young children.
It's also important for us to remember, and this is going to come up just very briefly a little bit later this evening, but thinking about what your own triggers are. Because like yelling and screaming and running wild in a classroom, that doesn't bother me. But I know there's educators that's like the nightmare, right? So thinking about the things that your children in your classroom are experiencing in that social emotional learning phase, especially when they're lacking these, skills and qualities, what really triggers you personally that then, you and your peer educators can help support each other. And we're going to get into that, but I feel like that's such a huge piece that I don't want to get left behind at all.
So the meaning of behavior, why the function matters. Does anyone want to throw out why they think the function matters?
Or what do you think we mean by function in this sense? It always took me a little bit to wrap my head around. What do they mean by function?
What is it serving for the child?
Thank you, Hazel.
Like their action, what is their action, which we would call the behavior serving for the child? Is that what you mean, Hazel?
Yeah, like the child behavior is not random. It's serving them in some way, though it might not be
successful.
It might be hurtful to others. It might be it's limited to their development and their understanding. So they're working with what they have, and it might be serving their need for protection. And that might show up in so many different ways that are really challenging in the classroom. But the function is perhaps protection. even though the behavior itself is maybe dangerous or maybe annoying or who knows what.
Thank you. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So yes, behavior is communication. Could be,
There's
I'm
Ellie's
scared,
quote.
I need help. I don't know how to play with somebody else. I want to play by myself. You took that toy I had. A lot of these things. I just have to tell you guys, the very end of the pyramid model, like if you go through the whole series, challenging behavior is the last one, and I just did it last week, so I'm trying to bring my brain back to the beginning and remember that we're reintroducing the whole thing again. Are there any other behaviors that have challenged you that maybe haven't been on these slides? Or thinking about what these behaviors would look like in a 5-year-old versus a 6-month-old?
I mean, I've been bit many times.
Me too.
Yeah.
Biting is, yes, one of the bigger ones. And again, trying to just as a short reminder, looking at what happened right before the biting happened. So the function, the why. Why did they bite?
Surprised it's not on this list. Personally, though,
I know,
throwing
it's
things.
weird.
Biting and throwing things. Like, I feel like those are two big ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Dumping, you know,
Dumping.
when they turn
Yeah.
over, they just run and turn over that big bin of toys and
Ugh.
run to the next one.
Some of those very typical developing play schema experiences are incredibly frustrating. The dumping, the enveloping, that kind of stuff. It's, very appropriate brain development stuff. But really difficult, really difficult for caregivers. Yeah.
Can I talk about one that I deal with almost daily?
Please.
One of the 2-year-olds in my class runs away any chance we get or any chance she gets. Typically during like transition times, she just takes off. But so once I started like really thinking about why, I started like making sure I had like 20 minutes just to spend with her every morning. And once I started doing that, she kind of stopped running away. So I was like, are you doing it for my attention? Or you want me to chase you or something? Is this a game? But yeah, once I started spending a lot of time with her, then she kind of stopped. So
Aww. You got to the root of that function. I just needed more time with Ellie. I wanted more one-on-one time, and yeah, and I was gonna do what I needed to do until I got it.
yeah, she does.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Thank you, Ellie. Lindsay, did you have something, or is your hand thingy just still up?
My hand thingy was still up.
Okay,
But
no
I was
worries.
kind of thinking about it, and like, I guess, like, one thing that really bothers me, like, I've been working there for a long time, and I used to get all the kids with the most challenging behaviors because, like, hitting and screaming and stuff like that doesn't really faze me. And they usually end up being like my best friends. They kind of gravitate towards me, those kids. The thing that bothers me more is like when they're just really mean to other kids. Like we had a girl that was black, and we had a couple of kids that really teased her a lot. Just kind of for the sport of it, not because they didn't understand it. They were just like singling her out and being mean. Like that really bothers me, I guess, when they're bullies a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they they definitely know they shouldn't be doing it, and they're doing it to be funny, and maybe it's like, somebody that's different and they, don't know how to
Yeah.
react, but when they're just doing it to be like kind of mean, that bothers me
Yeah.
the most, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, that's kind of sometimes when that like peer pressure or like peer influence thing kind of comes into play. Like if one kid says something, gets a reaction out of two or three other kids, then they see that they get that kid got a reaction out of it. So I could do something similar and I can get a reaction. And then pretty quickly we end up with some like non-intentional but like bullying labeling issues. And that's hard. That's hard. And then how do you, as an educator, how do you nip that in the bud? How do you turn that around? Right? And I'm not saying, Lindsay, you need to answer me right now. I know
No, I
you
was going to say it is
but
really hard
just thinking
because,
it's hard.
but yeah, because when you are trying to nip it in the bud, you're essentially kind of excluding the kid that's bullying,
Mm-hmm.
which, because you're saying that's not right, you can't act that way. And then all the other kids are like, oh, they're doing something bad, I don't want to play with
Yep.
him.
And then you're
And
just
so,
flipping the script to the other side. And yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a fine line of like how to handle that effectively. And it's really not based on what you're saying or doing as an educator. It's based on reactions, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't predict that. So that's the really hard part about it.
That is fair. That is a really, really, really good, fair point. Yeah. I mean, because you can have all the ideas of conversations in the world about how to approach this with the children in your classroom. And then depending on how they react to your conversation prompt is going to make a big difference. Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay.
Right.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. Belle?
One of the challenges that I'm facing recently is some of the kiddos that are getting ready to go into kindergarten. It's almost as if they are completely forgetting how to be kind, how to do just anything, I suppose. For example, Lindsay was there today. One of my kids asked, what was the word? Oh, she said, we are not supposed to say the word boring. And I said, well, let's ask Miss Lindsay. She's the director. She kind of has the final say. I'm still kind of new at this. And she goes, well, you can definitely find things to be boring. And this one student that's going off to kindergarten goes, yeah, Miss Bell, you're just boring. And I said, you know what? That just reminded me as to why I said we don't say the word boring. This student's new thing is to find every which way they can to insult me in order to get a rise out of other students. But they're not getting that rise out of other students. All of my students are letting them know, like, that's not kind. We don't say those things. And they weren't like this for the last year and a half. It just seems like now that they're going off to kindergarten, they're forgetting all of their manners, all of their kindness. So that one is definitely a challenge and very frustrating for me.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Belle, I really appreciate that you brought that up. And I was grinning ear to ear when you just said that before kindergarten thing. And not because I'm laughing at how challenging that is for you, but how true that is, that there is this age. And I'm saying this is just me coming from my own personal experience. This isn't like actual research or whatever. But I 20 plus years of early childhood care experience, I have noticed that transition age from preschool to kindergarten, that like springtime, like spring fever, whatever for that age is insane. And I think it's just that like I'm not like I know I'm transitioning into being a big kid, but like my brain, my body, like I'm not quite there, but I know I want to be, right? I want to be there. I want to be that big kid that's going to big kid school and then just, walking around like too big for their own britches kind of a thing. Um, it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. But I've seen that and it is hard. Um, yeah, that being said, it's hard, and it does come back to those relationship buildings and the piece of, I know this child well enough to know X, Y, or Z and to help support in that way. Yeah.
Do you know what I always kind of attribute that behavior to?
What?
Is like a breakup. They're like, you've been my
Oh,
teacher for like 2 or 3 years, and if I'm mean to you, it's not as hard to leave.
Lindsay, I love that. I never thought about it that way, but that makes perfect sense.
I've
That
done it for 5 years now, and it's pretty consistent. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to kindergarten. I don't need you anymore. And like, they're hurting. They don't want to sometimes.
No,
And it's easier
and they're
if they're
scared.
like, yeah, it's easier if they're kind of like mean and pushy and like, yeah, I'm moving on. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, thank you. That's a really good point. Thank you. Hazel?
I was just going to say something really similar. I mean, this is a huge, huge transition. And as I would say, as much as they are thinking about being this bigger kid on an unconscious level, they're leaving a lot of known for the unknown.
Yeah.
So when we are not very happy, sometimes things come out of our mind, our mouths that we don't intend. And I would also like think that, like a kid says something not very nice to you, like you're boring. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I am boring.
Sometimes I am. Yeah.
And let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yep, that's just did not land on me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really am boring, aren't I? And you get them to laugh because they know it's not true.
Yeah. True.
It's
They
not
know it's
true.
not.
It's
Especially if
not
you
true.
know they're just trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is not
Yeah.
true.
Not true. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it's true. Moving on. Thank you. Oh, sorry. We got more hands up. Or Lindsay, is that you just didn't put it down again? Yesenia?
Yeah, I think I was gonna say the same thing. I am in the same boat as them in regards to, at this year, at the end of this month, it's like when we start seeing those kids kind of be the older, independent, like they don't want help. But I think I agree also, and I posted on the comments, I think it's sometimes because they have been with us and we have built that connection that we kind of become family or like, like their parents. So they know that, like how far they could step or
Mhm.
how far they could, do their things and they feel comfortable. They're just comfortable at saying things as, it's like I know that, she does not gonna get mad at me or,
Yeah.
like just the comfort that they feel of the secure, safe environment that you have provided for the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
I think it all has to do with them feeling comfortable in your class and as well, just it's hard. They're gonna be missing you, but they don't know how else to tell you, so they're gonna make you want to miss them.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Wow, you guys, that's solid. Thank you. That was great. Really great. All right. Want me to move forward for you, Melanie?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, kind of like we talked about, the behavior doesn't tell us what to do. Understanding the meaning or the function does. So let's just think about a child biting. Knowing that the child is biting doesn't help us. The child might bite because they want to play with a friend, or they might want someone to move away from them. And that's what I see in the younger ages. I know personally I was a biter and I continued it later in life. So I think as I got older, it was because I wanted people to play with me. But It is only when we know why they are biting that we can help meet their needs. And I did just go with biting because it wasn't on those other slides, but it is one of the things that I am seeing a lot more. And it played a lot in the infant toddler videos that I did in my last cohort. So in the pyramid model, we are going to use this process to understand children's behavior and develop our interventions. The process does begin with convening a team that will develop and implement the child's support plan, whether they already have one or if there is just a time that you need to make one. So at the center of the team is the family and the child's teacher or other primary caregivers. The process begins with the functional assessment to gain a better understanding of the factors that are related to the child's challenging behavior. Functional assessment ends with the development of a hypothesis about why the challenging behavior is happening by the whole team. The hypotheses are used for the development of a behavior support plan. The behavior support plan includes prevention strategies to address the triggers of the challenging behavior, replacement skills that are alternatives to the challenging behavior, and strategies that ensure challenging behavior is not reinforced or maintained. The behavior support plan is designed to address home, community, and classroom routines where the challenging behavior is occurring. In this process, the team also considers supports to the family and strategies to address broader ecological factors that affect the family and their support of the child. While it is easy to see how function matters when you are developing an individual plan, it can also matter when you have a child who does not necessarily need an individual plan, but just might need some extra support. Next slide, Kim. I know it says we're doing small groups, but trying to respect your time.
Yes, no, sorry, thank you. Oh,
Yes, so remember, it all starts with the effective workforce and putting those things in place and just a positive climate to support the children and the families and to have those difficult conversations and the ongoing training and professional development. It's important to have staff wellness opportunities and commitment to being family centered. Does anyone else want to throw out why it's important to support the staff and like why that might be the very bottom of this pyramid and the very bottom of this model?
If your staff aren't supported, then your kids aren't supported. That's just the basic answer.
Yes, thank you.
absolutely, Lindsay, thank you.
Well, and it's kind of like even just as even as a coach, like I support educators in a way, just as these educators are supporting the children. So it's teaching and what do they want to learn? So I can't push something that they don't want to learn. It's not going to stick. Same thing with children. And that's kind of where emergent curriculum comes in and things like that, and like learning what they're interested in, how they learn. It's the same thing as working with adults.
Thank you, yes. Okay, sorry, I lost my screen for a second. Like it went black on me, but I could see that you guys were still seeing it. That was weird and trippy. Okay.
All
The
right.
right spot for
so-
you?
What?
Am I in the right slide for you?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Oh, this is trippy. Okay.
Did you hit because I know the video is coming up. Did you hit the optimize something for video? Because then it completely disappears for you.
Oh, no, I mean, I did that at the very beginning. It's been set like that the whole time.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason it just vanished. But you do this one, we'll take a quick break and I'll bring it all back. So yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
So why an equity mindset? A foundational principle for implementing the pyramid model is an equity mindset. When we have an equity mindset, we consider the diverse needs of each and every child and their families in a manner that is child-centered and culturally responsive. And it ensures that we center our services on the child and family's cultural identity and voice. So in order to address equity, you have to define it. So experiences of race and ethnicity occur within a social and historical context, both shaping our nation's history. Equity issues may refer to biases based on a variety of identity characteristics. These biases occur at 3 levels through which racism occurs: institutional, personally, and internalized. Addressing biases and promoting equity requires we pay attention to interpersonal dynamics and systemic influences. Race and ethnicity shape our understanding of children's behavior implicitly and explicitly, and we must understand its functioning to address its impact. And implementing the pyramid model implies a commitment to fairness and equity.
All right. Oops. Thank you, Melanie. Okay, so before we jump into applying the pyramid model philosophy, we are going to take a real quick break so you guys can stretch your legs, etc. Stuff your face. That's what I'm going to do for a couple minutes. We will come back. Let's see. It's 7:41. I didn't time that exactly wonderfully, but let's come back at how do we feel about, well, I don't know. What do you think? Should we do just a 5-minute or do you guys want a 10? It's up to you. Melanie and I could roll either way.
5.
5? Just do a 5-er? Okay. It's 7:42 now when I'm announcing it. So let's come back at 7:47. Like the Boeing aircraft. Break till 7:47. Go stretch your legs or something.
Kim, I want you to take this time to research whether it's based on Braunfenferners.
I know, I love that, but I literally have to shove food in my mouth, Lindsay.
All right, all right. Can you Google stuff while you do
but
that?
I am very curious about that. So
Because doesn't it sound very similar to family systems theory?
it absolutely does, and I have thought that before. Yep.
Okay. I'm
Yep.
glad I'm not the only one.
No, you're not the only one.
Okay.
I love it. All right, welcome back. If you wouldn't mind, those of you who are not on camera, if you wouldn't mind a thumbs up or a reaction or hi and back in the chat. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we'll keep it rolling. Just a heads up, if I pretty quickly go off camera, I'm just in my little office slash my husband and I's bedroom. So he doesn't appreciate being on camera. So if he's gonna knock on the door and let me know if he's coming in, and I'll get off camera. So if that's quickly happens, I just wanted to give you guys the heads up. But I'm still here. All right. So we're gonna get into applying the pyramid model philosophy. Okay. There it is. So it's also a philosophy about how we support children and families, right? So we're going to watch a video. While we're watching this video, I would like you at your capacity to please take some notes for yourself. And while you're watching, I would love you to consider these questions that you see on the screen here. What do you hear or see that is prevention focused? And what does it mean to support children's appropriate behavior? What do you see or hear about supporting families? And then how do we support staff to do this important work? Right? So kind of what we've been talking about is a little bit leading up to this. So as we watch this video together, I'd love you to please consider those. If you have a second to jot down, because of course, as I move to the next slide to view the video, this slide will be gone. So you won't have those questions to prompt you. So if you have a quick second, jot them down or take a screenshot or a picture on your phone or something to keep those kind of in mind for you as we go through this video together. All right. Now the trick is, so I already have it optimized for video. I should be able, Melanie, you're my next screen person. So I'm looking at you to let me know about the sound and stuff, okay?
Okay.
Sorry. That doesn't work. One second.
I don't want their thoughts to be just consumed with all of the things that they can't do. I want to also give them that positive voice that says, these are the things that you're doing. These are the things that you are doing well. Let's keep it up.
Children in our program have learned to get along with everyone, have learned to give and take, have learned to be patient.
If we focus just on play and on
I'm sorry, you guys. I can't even move my mouse apparently, and it pauses it. All right, I'm not going to touch anything.
on making friends and how do you feel, and when you're angry, what do you do? When you're happy, what do you do? When you're sad, where do you go for help? I mean, all those kinds of things. If we were to do that with young children really, really well, that a lot of the other learning would fall into place.
It's important to have good interactions with teachers, with adults, with family members, with their peers. And that's an important lesson to learn early in life. It builds a foundation for learning.
The personal and social development of any child, person, adult is so important to have that foundation, because with that foundation, you can do anything. Anything is possible.
Promoting social-emotional competence in early childhood is a critical key to children's later success in school and in life. This video offers an overview of well-researched, successful strategies that early childhood educators can use to promote healthy social-emotional development, prevent challenging behavior, and provide support to the growing number of children with challenging behavior. The pyramid model includes 4 levels of strategies that are needed to intentionally and effectively support children's social-emotional development and prevent and address challenging behavior. The pyramid is supported at its foundation by an effective workforce, a culture of professional support at all levels of early childhood programs.
We embraced the pyramid because this was something that was going to be able to fit within what our organization valued, but also fit within what we already do well. It's not just a quick fix, it's not just a technique, it's actually a philosophy that has to be incorporated and ingrained into the culture of your organization.
You infuse it into the regular day-to-day activities, and then you begin to look at social-emotional development as you do literacy and the other developmental domains, and it strengthens it.
We began at the bottom of the pyramid because we wanted not to miss a step. We wanted to get that foundation, that tier 1, really solid for all staff. I believe that from assistants, whatever your role is, we need that philosophy that has a positive attitude. When you begin with that quality workforce and then you build on that foundational model, it's a philosophy. We like to say our model here at our center is to have that serving heart and to have a collaborative spirit and a leadership attitude.
We're working on an investment in evidence-based practices, an investment in pyramid practices, and an investment for teachers that continues to grow for them. It becomes incorporated into their practice, into what they do. The teachers are putting extra time and extra effort into using these strategies, which we do with investment. We put some into it, and then we expect to get more back. And when you see challenging behaviors decrease, when you see children using their social skills, problem solving independently, when you see those children growing and developing, there's your investment.
Following, expected rules, following schedules, all those things, those are learning opportunities that should be present for all children in a program, not just children with challenging behaviors. Those are key goals for all children in an early childhood program, and it's one of the most potent benefits that early childhood programs can deliver.
Nurturing and responsive relationships is the first level of the pyramid model. Positive, supportive relationships are necessary for all children and critical to the success of all the other strategies. These relationships extend to partnerships with families and guide interactions between teachers and other professionals to create relationships defined by teaming and collaboration.
They actually looked at him as a person. They picked out things that were very important to help him mature and help his behavior and help him learn. I think that's very critical to how a child is going to learn going forward, and as a parent, it's something that they have helped me know about my son, and going forward, I will be able to communicate that to future teachers that he is going to have in school.
It's a precious thing to be asked into a family system. A family system with a young child is a new venture for that family. It's very important that you value relationships, especially the relationship with the parent. A parent of a child that age needs all the support that they can get in order to feel empowered. Professionals shouldn't take away that right from a parent. They should support that right to empower the parent to be able to develop the skill sets that they need to be a good parent over the whole lifespan. So we are careful with our relationships, and where there are challenging behaviors and challenges that the child offers to the family system, we try to respect the pain that causes. We try to respect the challenges that presents, and to sort of unobtrusively offer the knowledge base that we have to offer.
She's really teaching us. I gained from her not only ideas as a parent, but as a teacher, some of the strategies and things that she does. And she helps us to be patient with her. She really does, because sometimes it does get frustrating. I do have extremely high expectations for this little one, but she helps remind us that Kennedy is who she is. She's 3 and she's doing fine. Okay.
As I started to come down here more and more and see how open everybody was, I mean, you don't have to ask to come in. I can come down here on a break and just walk in and see how she's doing. Just being able to stop in if we have questions. How's Kennedy doing today? She'll tell you how she's doing today. So it's a real big help being able to come in and talk to her anytime you want.
We have a friendship. It's not like just a teacher, okay, you got my daughter for the 8 hours, okay, I'll see you when I get back. We really talk in the morning and in the evenings. She feels really comfortable. I feel really comfortable, and she really enjoys it.
The second level of the pyramid model emphasizes the importance of creating high-quality, supportive environments to support children's success by engaging them in meaningful activities and implementing routines that are predictable and engaging to each child.
Look at that. See a bunch of different colors. The pyramid really is a constant reminder for me to go to the bottom. I can tend to just go to the top of the pyramid and be like, oh, this is a problem, but it's a constant lesson in, oh, well, are all these areas under relationships being, how consistent am I being in my relationships? How consistent am I being in the environment? That's a magical thing when challenging behaviors can be redirected by just simply reminding myself as a teacher, okay, I need to take a step back and do my checklist to see how I'm nurturing my relationships with kiddos and how supportive this environment can be.
It is just so refreshing, and it's awe-inspiring, I think, to watch her in action. Everything she does is so purposeful. Whether they're eating snacks, whether they're singing a song, whether they're doing circle, regardless of what they're doing, you can tell, I can tell when I'm sitting back that there's a reason for it. And she just has such a wonderful relationship with those kids. You can just tell by looking around her room that she's got the room set up for success, first of all, for the kids. Plus, she really loves her kids, and she really loves what she does.
Children like routine. They like that structure. They want to know what to do. They want to know what comes first, and they want to have that framework in the classroom.
I think I'm better able now to teach closely alongside the children, to follow their interests and to be guided by their interests, and to let that inspire my work. Relating to the children in a real way and understanding where they were coming from and trusting that things were not going to get so bad that I couldn't handle, that we as a group couldn't handle.
Our keywords: being respectful, being safe, and being a team player. And if you can use one word and the child just looks at you like, I know what you mean, then we can take off into the circumstances that may be surrounding the situation.
When she first came here, we had a
like a separation issue. As she got to know them over a couple of weeks, it just got better. She's a little aggressive, and I think that's just, we talk about not hitting and not being mean, and that goes along with be respectful, which is what they talk about here now. She tells me everything that they do, down to what, you know, the terminology that they're using in the classroom, like to be respectful, and what certain kids did to be respectful. And I'll always ask her, you know, what are types of things you do.
See? Is that pretty? Would you like to make friendship pictures today? I know. Ben, do you want to see?
The third level provides strategies to implement targeted social-emotional supports. This is explicit instruction in important skills, like expressing emotions appropriately, handling anger, solving problems, and developing friendships.
Jocelyn, good job.
We talked about emotions, and I've been doing the emotion dice, and we throw it and we say, how do you feel, and what does this look like? Does he look happy or sad? And he looks mad, and they all go, mad, and they all kind of mimic it. And so what I've been doing is I've been taking pictures as they make these faces. Last year I did the same thing, and I made this really neat book, and it was a Ladybug Feelings book. And it's so neat when they read these books. When they see these books and they go, oh, look, there's Aaron. He's angry, or oh, look, she's shy, or oh, she's excited, you know, and it's really neat when they go through and they read it.
Thank you. Okay. She said thank you. Good morning, Bridget. Good morning, Bridget. Hello, and
what is amazing to me is how the pyramid strategies work so well at the toddler level. Children are learning to say each other's names. They're learning how to tap and get another friend's attention. They're learning how to label their feelings, because we're intentionally teaching those skills, and it's working.
do you want more? Beta.
When thinking of teaching friendship skills to children, you have to think of what does it mean to be a friend, and break those steps down and teach each part to the child. First, how do you get a friend's attention? And there's steps to that even, leading all the way up to sharing, keeping a friend, understanding feelings, things like that. I want to make sure in my day that I have planned time to demonstrate what it means, to discuss it, and give them time to practice it. And modeling between my co-teacher and I is a great way to demonstrate, also with puppets, with real photographs, so many different ways to demonstrate, and then allowing the children to practice all throughout the day. And while they're practicing, being available and present for the children to give them the feedback that they need to hear, oh, that is being a friend.
Sure, let's do some teamwork.
Encourage them to use their words, and that's a key phrase that I use in my classroom. Tell your friends how you feel. Tell them if you did not like that. I help them. How did you feel when they kicked you? Sorry. Well, you know, then I give them the words to say, I don't like it when you kick me. They will have another tool to use, their language.
See, when you say that, Michael knows that she's sitting in a chair, that you want to have that, okay?
When we have conflict resolution strategies in place throughout the whole program, not only we know them, but the children know them, and the children can affect them with their friends. Children are more powerful teachers to their peers than our adults most times.
Is there something that she can do with the book?
Share!
How would that work? Did you know that two people can look at a book?
we are a family, we are a community, and that we all have days when we're not our best. We all have days when we want mama. We all have days when we don't get our way and we're not happy about it.
So what he does is he kicks his friend's leg out of the way. Is kicking a go or is kicking a stop? It's a stop! Kicking is a stop. We use our feet for? Walking. We use our feet for walking. So kicking is a, I think it helps.
Squish, that's the word that you're using to say how you feel. You're squished. And you're squished. How could we solve that problem so you're not squished anymore? Think. Use your imagination. What could we do? There's just one chair here. What could we do? Sydney, what do you think you could do? If there's just one chair and two girls, we could... Madison, did you hear that? The words that came out of Sydney's mouth? Get a chair for Madison. That's a great idea.
Let's help
Let's get
the
a
teachers
chair
not
for
to get so
Madison.
frustrated. I think that's one of the really biggest things too, that you feel you have a tool and you're not at your wit's end, and when you're not screaming and pulling your hair out, you have something you can work with, and you step back and let's take a deep breath and we'll sit down here now with this child and see what they're about.
Some children were getting upset. They had to wait so long to get some gas. Sometimes we get a little frustrated, and sometimes we might not do the right thing to our friends when we're waiting. So we have a little book to talk about that. And what could you do when you're waiting?
Slowly but surely, we got more and more adept and more confident, and seeing that did help everybody. I can't think of a single area in which it's not helpful. It's refreshing too, because you can bring all the components in.
The final level of the pyramid model provides a process for addressing the needs of children who exhibit ongoing problem behavior, even when the other three levels of the pyramid are in place. This intensive intervention process is often referred to as positive behavior support, or PBS.
The teachers in the classroom felt very confident. They came to me with issues. I can't be kicked anymore. I can't be hit anymore. I can't let him go up to another child and just scratch that child. Or I can't let him go up to another child and kick that child in the stomach. We have to make sure we let this child develop new skills in place of those skills. And that's what our support did. We provided him and the classroom teachers with the support they need to help this child go through the daily routine of the classroom. And now that child's doing just fine. We come back with accomplishments from everybody that was involved.
There's a certain feeling a teacher has about her competencies or his competencies when they come to a point with a child that they think they need help with the child's behavior. So if I'm a classroom teacher and I say I need help with this child, for some people that's quite an accomplishment because they're reaching out and they may feel like they could be judged by saying I need some more ideas on this, I'm out of ideas. So developing a comfort zone and relationships where people feel that they're not being judged when they ask for help was very important, and that's part of that school climate.
Universal practices, universal techniques, and I think that's key. because you'll find a small number, probably somewhere around 25%, that will need those extra interventions. So what do we do with the other 75? And children learn from other children as well, from the modeling they see from their peers. So I think it's very important to have a universal approach, but then also have a support system in for those children that need more.
We don't drill on the negative behaviors. You know, we see the positives in each of the children. And, you know, those are the important steps.
Once we started doing PBS at home and in the community, some of the same people that thought Brennan was just mentally retarded and that we should put him in an institution thought he was cured. It's a lifelong, incurable disability. But we've been able to manage it. I think that PBS becomes so ingrained that you do it naturally all the time so that it doesn't look to other people like you have a strategy. It just looks like you're going along and your child is going along, you know, regular, normal. Now that he can communicate, he's so smart. He's suddenly so smart to other people, and he had it in him all the time. We didn't know how to get it out, but figured it out. And I think that's one thing that if anybody tells you that, it's very empowering. You can do this. And I would tell families that you can do this.
Are doing these amazing things in the classroom and providing these kind of supports for kids. And we also teach parents how to do that. I think they'll be happier, kids will be better in the classroom, teachers will be happier, and I felt like that truly could change the world, and I feel like it has.
Establishing that rapport, I think that is so important. Establishing the rapport, the respect, that them being able to trust you and know that you're not going to give up on them, and no matter what they do, you're not going to judge them, and you're going to still love them the next day. So I think that's real important.
I had a student many years ago who, he came in here very angry. He would throw blocks and toys and aiming at people. He had targets and just temper tantrums throughout the day. He would hit me and scratch me. I just started crying, and I was crying not because he was hurting me, but I was crying because I didn't know what to do for him. He's just a very gentle soul now. You know, sometimes you don't know why these strategies work. I mean, sometimes to me it's just a little miracle that they work. But if you dare just to keep on searching and keep on trying the strategies, you know, if it doesn't work today, it might work tomorrow. You gotta try them for a length of a time. You can't just give up the first time it doesn't work. And work with the families, then you get success. Now's the time. When they're little, it's the time, and we can do great things.
I would like to see.
Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm gonna end that there. Let me come back here. Because I do want us to be able to chat about that for just a minute before we close it up. So apologies with the abrupt end to that. We did have to cut this training down. But you know, you never know how it's gonna go. And oops. You guys were so amazing and participatory that you know, we just misgauged. But this has been wonderful and amazing. I would like to, let me find where I'm trying to be on my slides here really quick. And I just wanted to wrap up with a few thoughts about what we got to see about that video, kind of prompting your guys's ideas for future implementation and future modules, as especially our Preschool Promise friends are going to be getting to dive into deeper. Where is that? you know, I guess it's my own little notes here. So I'm just gonna go to this one slide is just distracting me because it's this kid crying in my face, really big in my face, and I don't like that. That's trauma, you know. I don't like that. Put it right at the end. So obviously we're blown through some of that, but I wanted to mention that throughout that video that we just watched, I noticed, and I wish I had the time to go through, but I noticed that almost every suggestion, idea, piece of advice that you all shared tonight was represented in that video. You guys are already doing so much of the work, right? And I just really want you to recognize that for yourself, because that place of understanding, like, I am doing so many of these things. I have so much experience and knowledge. And I'm literally doing it right now. But to recognize that for yourselves, to really internalize that, like, I'm on board with this, I'm already there. And then we have the ability to see places of potential growth and more learning. And we get the excitement of being able to offer a deeper dive into all of it. And then I want to open it up for shares in a second, but one of the biggest highlights I see in that video every time, and it's a tiny little thing, but I always love to point it out, is when one of the kiddos are talking about books and looking at books, and one of the kiddos suggests, like, oh, there's a problem about sharing. We could share. And the educator responds with the simple, and how would that work? So we are giving the option, the opportunity, the choice to the child or the children to come up with that problem solving on their own. But I feel like, to me, in a nutshell, like, that one tiny interaction, which is 2 sentences, really sums up a lot of what the pyramid model feels like to me, the framework of it. It's everything. It's that collective understanding of each other. It's the child, the adult, I mean, all the things. So anyway, those are my notes on that. And in our last few minutes, Melanie, yeah, we'd just love to hear from you guys if you have anything you'd like to share. I'll mute myself. That's okay too. Oh, maybe in the chat. That's from
Sophia has her hand up.
Oh, Sophia, please. Thank you.
I want to say, sorry, I'm congested. Allergy season is so bad. Anyways, I want to say big thank you to the staff at my workplace. They really make me feel seen and heard. And I appreciate that because my last jobs did not do that. But also, I worked retail for 4 years prior. So, and they know that I don't have much experience and they know I'm learning. So they give me grace for that. And they give me grace when my medications make my stomach die. So I appreciate the staff and all the mentors here. Thank you.
That is so sweet. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I suppose, Preschool Promise family friends, I will be seeing you soon. Baby Promise friends, thank you so much for being here. thank you, Molly. I appreciate you preempting that. If you wouldn't mind, please throw in your information back in the chat there, you know, for that that last check-in thing. And yeah. Questions, comments, everything, you guys know where to get a hold of us.
One thing I do want to preface is that the pyramid model has different trainings for the different age groups. So my expertise is in the infant toddler, whereas Kim, again, does just preschool. The training hours do look a lot different between infant toddler and preschool, just because preschool has a lot more to it. More so just because they do have more language and they do have more social skills. So the infant toddler is just the basics, and it goes through all the things specific to infant toddler based off of all the different parts of the pyramid model. So preschool modules are a lot longer than the infant toddler modules. But the good thing is every session that you attend, you get credit for.
So is this going to be like a cohort like we've had before? And I know this is replacing like a lot of Eckers and class.
Lindsay,
How's that going to work?
yes. So that is a preschool promise specific thing. If you want to stay on, I can chat with you about that for a minute. And stop recording and all that stuff so that we're not wasting anyone else's time. But also I could give you a call tomorrow morning if you would like.
I mean, if you have a few minutes, I'm fine. I'm
Yeah, okay.
around.
Yeah, cool. Okay. In fact, how do I stop recording? I'm gonna do that. Anyway, but now I don't know how.
That's why I left that one on you.
All right, thanks. That's all right. Oh, there it is.